The Bengals have added some pieces in free agency. Have they done enough? Let's be honest. The answer is no. And part of that might be how they structured or didn't structure Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Let's break it all down, including who I would target in free agency right now on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to CBT. I'm James Rapien of BengalsTalk.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. Today's video powered by BetUS TV. The NFL draft officially 1 month away from today. And the Bengals, well, they have some work to do. Let's dive in with what they shoulda, coulda, woulda done and how it could impact them adding to their team. Right now, what they have done in free agency is they've added TJ Slayton, they've added Oren Burks, they've added Joseph Osai, they've added BJ Hill, they've added Samaje Perine, they've signed Marco Wilson. A lot of those guys, Osai, Hill, Wilson, well, they were on the roster last year. Slayton, Burks, and Perine, new additions. You throw in Lucas Patrick as well, who was officially signed late last week. And all right, I get it. And that's why, by the way, we had a really good feeling that they were going to sign him. And that's why we did the video we did when he came in for a visit. So they get a deal done with Lucas Patrick on Friday. And it's like, all right, well, where are they? And it doesn't feel like huge moves are coming. Now, maybe they are. Maybe they will. And maybe they still go after some guys like a Brandon Scherf, who's very popular among the fan base right now. Zadarius Smith, someone I've written about multiple times and talked about on Locked On Bengals. But in having conversations with salary cap expert Andre Parada and multiple people, and we covered this in depth on Locked On Bengals, but I have to cover it here for a minute or two before I get into what we need to see them do between now and the draft. They could have given themselves more flexibility if they had just simply, when they got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase done, and those are obviously the big deals and deals you needed to get done. And so they deserve credit for getting those done. But the problem is the how. And the how cost them nearly $12 million in cap space this year by simply not prorating the roster bonus. And that's basically it. I don't want to get into all the cap weeds here. If you want the cap details, you go to Locked On Bengals, where we can have 3 segments and we're doing 30 minutes. It can spend 12 minutes on cap space. It's different here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. But basically, with Jamar, the structure, fine, made sense. You know, the 4 years, $161 million. But they ate $8 million in cap space by not putting in Jamar's $10 million roster bonus into his day of signing bonus. So it's something he's going to make this year that they're going to pay this year that they could have put into the day of signing bonus. And instead it's a roster bonus. And that's the difference. That cost them $8 million in cap space this year. T. Higgins, they folded or could have folded his second 2025 roster bonus, $5 million, into his first one. And that would have given them almost $4 million extra in cap space, $3.75 million in cap space this year. That close to $11 million could have been used in a lot of ways, or $11 million in cap space, or nearly $12 million in cap space. Could have been used in a lot of different ways. I'm going to get into those players in just a second, but we're not talking about cash here. We're talking about cap. That could mean a top safety, not just a safety. That could mean a top guard, 2 top guards. That's Kevin Zeitler and Lucas Patrick. If you take their current contracts and what they signed, Lucas Patrick, $2.1 million, Kevin Zeitler with the Titans, 1 year, $9 million. So that just gives you an idea of what could be done, what can be done with that type of cap space. What does it mean? Well, it can't mean that they're done. And we're going to set that standard. We'll get into that coming up next. Today's video is powered by BetUS TV. BetUS TV is going to have all of the insight you're looking for. If you're looking for the latest on the NBA or the latest on college hoops, obviously there are a couple of tournaments going on right now. In Cincinnati, we've seen Sean Miller leave. There's a lot of moving parts. What happens with Xavier? Do they hire Chris Mack and bring him back? BetUS TV is going to have you covered to give you all the latest insight, all the latest information, that you need. And of course, they're going to have the educational portion of the latest odds, of the latest betting markets. They're going to have picks. They're going to have all of those things in one spot. So make sure you check it out today. We've talked about BetUS TV plenty over the past year or so here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. So check them out again at BetUS TV. All right, let's get to what that $11+ million in cap space could have gone to and why that doesn't mean anything when it comes to the Bengals adding to the roster. And by that doesn't mean anything, I'm saying it can't mean anything. And yet I'm afraid it does. Look, if the Bengals had that 11 extra $1 million to work with, well, that could be the difference in Trey Hendrickson's contract this year. That alone, right? That could have been the difference between getting Trey done, which they haven't done as of now, and signing a guy like Asante Samuel Jr., who I think is just out there, and it's really weird that he's just out there, and maybe there's a medical question, but Asante Samuel Jr. is a really good player. He's 25 years old. Would make a ton of sense to add him to a defense that needs playmakers on defense. I know he's a corner, and I know some people don't want them to address corner. They're worried about pass rush, but Asante Samuel Jr. is a really good player. You want to upgrade at safety? Well, Julian Blackmon could do that. Calais Campbell, Brandon Scherf, guys like that are still available. They could use that money. And instead you look at it, and if you look at some of these cap sites, they have roughly $24 million in cap space. That's not the real number because they still have to pay their draft class. They still have to allocate money for the practice squad and other hidden cap charges that they always allocate funds to. So I would imagine that they view their cap at around $12 million, 11 to 12 million. So they basically could have doubled their cap by structuring those deals a certain way. They didn't. And that does not mean that they can be done in free agency. They cannot. If they got to the draft and they haven't added a starting guard, they haven't added another pass rusher, they haven't gone the extra mile, well, then we're going to look back at the structure of T and Jamar's deal and say, well, why didn't you just put this bonus? It's literally here instead of here. Like from if you're doing your taxes right now, you get either a state refund, federal refund, or you're paying the state and you're paying federal. You have your local as well. And so instead of paying all federal, they went, well, we're going to pay the state some. And we're going to do it on a different day. And it's like, well, it's still money out of your account. It doesn't matter. It's not saving you any money. If anything, it's just giving you more flexibility. And that is my issue here. It didn't save them money. They're still paying it out this year. It's not like it delayed it or created a bunch of future cap space or anything like that. And so when I look at these guys available, and then I see, and we wrote this at BengalsTalk.com, what Andre Parada, who's been all over it from a cap standpoint, is the best in the game at cap and salary cap, and what the Bengals do follows the Bengals closely. It's like, well, man, that like Azeez Ojulari, maybe you really wanted him if you're a Bengals fan. Maybe you were thinking big coming into free agency and saying Javon Holland should be the guy. Javon Holland's cap hit would have fit very easily. Milton Williams' cap hit would have fit very easily. And they could have done that with the $11+ million that they're just signing to T and Jamar. They basically saved $375,000 in cap space by signing those two guys. I thought that they would save $5 to $6 million on T. They saved $2 million. And I thought they would save at least 3 to 4 on Jamar, and they could have saved 8 really easily and cleared 6 from what they were allocating to him. It's mind-numbing to think that they could have done that, and that could have been Brandon Scherf. And it still could be. They can still sign him, to be fair. But it would have just given him that much more flexibility. They could have rolled it over into next year. I think when you see moves like that, and people immediately jump to, they don't want to risk future years. This wouldn't have risked anything. This is money that they're paying out anyway. It's just strictly from an accounting standpoint, changing the way it's accounted for to maximize your cap. That's it. Still paying it out this year. Still paying it out this month. It's not like they are sitting on it for another 2 months. It's not like you can say it's a cash flow thing. It's not. It's not like there's no reason to not go the other route. And the only reason would be simply because they say, all right, well, let's do this now with this money. And not that it looks like we're at the cap, but we're closer to the cap. And we have more reason to be frugal, so to speak, when it comes to the rest of our free agent moves. Because right now they could just say we're done. We're waiting to see if we can get something done with Trey. Like that's pretty close to where they're at from a cap standpoint. If they had that extra $11 million, it would be real easy to say, all right, well, we can fit Brandon Scherf under this, Calais Campbell under this, and maybe even one more player. I mean, really, you could go after, especially with the guys that they could potentially cut, the Jermaine Pratts of the world, who I think that is coming, Zach Moss at some point with the medicals. Like you could add with that $11 million, Asante Samuel Jr., Calais Campbell, Brandon Scherf. And if you wanted Julian Blackmon, like you could really upgrade your roster. And so this is a major fail if they don't do more. And it's a fail anyways, but if they do more and they have a plan for it, then okay, fine. You're still adding to your roster. But with the draft a month away, I wanted to highlight this because we're going to dive into the draft and it's going to be very draft heavy over the next month unless they do more in free agency. And if they're pivoting, we're certainly going to have to pivot and start covering the draft here. But if they're pivoting and going to the draft and that's the route they go, it's going to be a really disappointing free agency period for the Cincinnati Bengals. Today's video was powered by BetUS TV. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell on YouTube, follow wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back. Enter the Jungle Tuesday night at 8 Eastern, and any news that breaks, we'll certainly have you covered as well. For Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Cincinnati Bengals Talk.